Hello everyone, my name is Ahmad, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can create this Pomodoro app using Angular. First of all, we're going to discuss what is Pomodoro. Pomodoro is actually a time management technique that sets focus time, for example, around it mostly defaults to 25 minutes, and this time management technique sets short breaks around 10 to 15 minutes after uh, working for some time. For example, if you work for 30 minutes, you gotta take some rest between, for example, for 10 minutes. As you can see, uh, this is a Pomodoro app using Angular. You can increase the focus time. For example, if you want to work for 30 minutes, you can click on next. As you can see, there's an animation that's created using Angular animations, and there's also you can also set up break time. So first of all, you gotta start a new project. Open up your favorite IDE, in my case VS Code, and I'm gonna type ng new followed by the name of the project. I'm gonna call it Pomodoro. Press enter. Would you like to add Angular routing? No, thank you. CSS is fine. And we wait. Now that we've created our new project, let's open it up in our IDE. Press Ctrl Shift P in VS Code and click on Open Folder, and I'm gonna go to the directory, to the respective directory, and I'm gonna open it up. And now it's open. So first of all, open up app component.html by pressing Ctrl P in VS Code. And as you can see, there's a lot of boilerplate code that we don't need. It's the default code that Angular puts up for us, but we don't need it. And before removing it, I'm going to show it up to you by typing ng serve in our terminal and pressing enter. In this way we can view our project in the browser. So we're going to wait. Okay. Go to your browser, and as you can see, localhost 4200, there's the default template for a basic Angular app. And let's go back to our IDE, close the terminal, and I'm gonna press Ctrl A and press delete because we don't need them. And now I'm gonna create the card. If I go to the browser, as you can see, there's a nice card centered in the middle, and we're gonna recreate it in our own project. So let's get going. Open up app component.html, and in here add a div with the class of card, and after that open a new pane, and in here open up app component CSS and add the respective styling. First of all, card, I'm going to style the class of card. I'm going to give it the background color of 14. I'm going to give it the max width of 23 rem and the width of 100%. Let's go to the browser and take a look. There's nothing yet. Why is that? I don't know. Let's add more styling. Add the aspect ratio of 1.3 and margin of auto. And now let's create the content inside this card. Go to your IDE. I'm in text editor, and in here add some sections. Add a div with the class flex, and in it add an h1 with the class of title, and type setup focus time. And you can also add an emoji. I'm gonna add target or goal. Where's target? I don't know where it is. Arrow. Bow. So now that we added our emoji, add another div with the class of counter, and in there add two buttons, button 1, and the content should be minus, and add another button, the same button, you can copy and paste it, and in here instead of minus type plus, and between the buttons we're gonna add our work duration. So add another div and type, for example, 25, and after them we can also add the button for going to the next section. So type button, and inside of it type next, and we can also add an emoji tick. Where is it? Where are they? I cannot find my emojis. Okay, it's a bad emoji finder. I'm gonna copy and paste it from here. Control V. Okay, that's it. Let's take a look. As you can see, our HTML content has been added, but they don't look that pretty. So then I'm gonna make them pretty now. So in here, type dot flex, display flex, flex direction column, justify content, a space between, a line item, center, and padding. Before that, let's take a look. It looks better. Go to your text editor, padding, 1 rem, and so there was a problem, and I found the problem. The problem is that in here, instead of 1 rem, I wrote 1 alone, and that was the problem. And in here, at a height of 100%, let's take a look again. It's looking better, and let's add some more styling. So in here, I'm gonna go after counter and type that counter, but not hover. I want the button in the class of counter to have the margin of 0 and 0.5 rem. Again, oops. Okay, so 0 for up and down, for top and bottom, and now that we've added this section, we're gonna add some more sections, actually 2 more sections, because whenever we click on next, we want to be able to set up the break time and also see the timer at the third section. So let's go do that. So for the sake of experimenting and seeing what happens, I'm gonna copy and paste it 2 more times to see how it looks. As you can see, it looks something like this. So we're gonna, instead of showing them in a column way, we're gonna put them in a flex and show them in a row. So I'm gonna add a section here, section with the class of position. Let's hit tab and let's move it down so it encompasses all the divs, all the 3 divs in here. Let's see. It's looking something like this, and go back, and in the CSS section let's add some styling. So for position, I'm gonna type position. Let's go to the browser. As you can see, it looks good. It has 100%, but it's not centered. It's pushed to the left side, and we don't want that. So let's go here and first of all remove this and see what happens. It's better. So I'm gonna delete it, and in here each one I'm gonna give it a flex of 1. Let's see what happens. It's looking better. So you may ask, what is flex? Flex is whenever the container of an. Now that we have our sections here, we're gonna add some animations to them. If I go to the div with the class of position, reformat the document and add something like transition, some transition, for example transform for translate x of, for example, minus 20%. Let's see what happens. As you can see, it has moved a little bit to the left, and that's hard coded. We don't want to do that, but we want this button to trigger some kind of a CSS transform in the controller of our component. In our case, app component.ts. That's the controller, and we want to declare a variable, and whenever the variable changes from one value to another, we want it to trigger an animation. And as I said, I don't want it to be hard coded. Angular makes it pretty easy for us. Using Angular animations, we can do that. We can dynamically add animations whenever a value changes, whenever a variable changes from one state to another. And let's go do that. First of all, I'm gonna delete it and open up app component.ts. This is the controller of our component, and in the first glimpse there's title equals Pomodoro. It was dynamically generated for us when we created the project using ng new Pomodoro. We don't need it, so I'm gonna delete it, and I'm gonna import Angular animations. Import trigger. What is that? We don't want router. Angular animations. Okay. So we want trigger. We want state. We want style, and we also animate and transition. That's it. Oh, oops. Transition. These are the things that we want to import from Angular animations, and in here I'm gonna add a comma, and then I'm gonna add animations. Animations equals, and I want an animation to be triggered whenever. First of all, give it a name. I'm gonna give it page number, and I want an animation to be triggered whenever the state is 1. It means page 1, and whenever the value is 1, and it may not make sense now, but I'm gonna explain it shortly. I want the style of this to be given to the div that has this animation attached to it. So state 1, I want the style of transform translate minus 0. So whenever the state of the variable that I'm going to declare in a moment is 1, I want no translation on x axis. It means it's on the first page. And whenever the state is 2, I want translate x to be 33.3. It means 1/3 to be transformed. That means it's the second page. And whenever the state is again 3, I want transform, and I want it to be 66.6. And there's nothing happened yet, but if I add an animation into this, to the section, and if I add angular animations to it using add sign, page number, as you saw, we gave it the value of page number. Page number is here, and it also is here. So the name of the trigger is page number, and it's attached to the section, and we want the value of it to be 1. Oops, there's a problem. What is that? Okay, we want it to be 1. Let's go to the browser. It's, as you can see, it's 1. It means the first section is active. Let's go back to our text editor and change it to 2. Let's see what happened. Nothing has happened. Why? I think I found the problem. If I go to the browser, as you can see, everything works fine, but the problem is that for the second page, as you can see, everything is the same. Set of focus time, set of focus time, set of focus time. So we're gonna change that. Go to here, and instead of set of focus time setup, type setup, break time, and add a sleep emoji. I'm gonna copy and paste it here. Okay, and that's it. Let's go to the browser. It's looking better, but the problem is that all these 25s are hard-coded and they're all the same. So we're gonna make them dynamic and also add the functionality for minus and plus button. So first of all, let's focus on set of focus time. The first section, I'm gonna add two variables. The first one is work duration. Duration, and the default value is 25. And let's add another one, break duration, and let's default it to 5 minutes. And in here, instead of this hard-coded 21, I'm gonna add 2 curly braces. It's also called literal tags or mustache tags, but sorry, literal templates. Yes, and sorry, literal tags, I think. And in here, we can type our variables directly in our HTML file. And I'm gonna do that. Type work duration, and in here do the same again. Instead of the hard-coded 25, I want the dynamic 5. Add 2 curly braces because we want to add a variable inside our HTML, and type break duration. What the heck? Break duration. Go to the browser. Voila, everything's working. And I'm gonna add the functionality for minus and plus button. In here, add another function, and and name it increase focus time. Increase focus time. Simple as that. And whenever it's called, I want this dot work duration to be increased by 1 digit. You may ask, what does this mean? Plus and plus equal. It means that it's the same as this. Writing this dot work duration equals work duration plus 1. It's the same thing, but it's a little shorter and cleaner. That's it. I'm gonna delete this one and see what happens in the browser. Click it. I didn't call it. And in here, go here and type click. Whenever it's clicked, we want to call the function increase focus time at the end. I want to call this function and I also add 2 parentheses. Click it. Why is it not working? Let's see. It's for the second page. Sorry. Go to your editor, and in here, as you can see, if I refresh the page again, if I click on next, we want to add another button, a back button, so let's do that. In here, there's only one button. Where is it? There's only one button. We want another button, so I'm gonna press Ctrl A. No. I'm gonna select this line till the end, and I'm gonna press Ctrl Shift P and type wrap with abbreviation, and I'm gonna wrap it in a div with the class of buttons. And now if I press Ctrl Shift I to format the document, I'm gonna Ctrl C and Ctrl V another button, but this button is not going to go to the page 3, but it's gonna go to page 1. So I'm gonna change it to 1, and I'm gonna also change it takes to back. And let's copy and paste an emoji. And here press Ctrl V, and that's it. Let's go and see what happened. As you can see, we've got 2 buttons, and if I click on back, it goes back. But let's move it up so it looks like this, and let's add some styling. In here, add the class of button, display flex, and I'm also gonna add dot buttons button. I'm gonna add a margin so they're not stacked next to each other. 0. We don't want any margin from top to bottom, but we want 2 point. Now everything seems to be complete, but the last solution, the final task that we gotta do is making the timer work. So let's go to our text editor and add some logic. First of all, we're gonna add 2 more variables. The first one, let's go to app component, the TSR controller, add 2 more variables. The first one is The first one is, what is it? The first one is message, because we want the message to be dynamic, and the message is of type string. We don't need that. The default message is go to work, and I'm gonna copy and paste it here. Control C, Control V, and I'm gonna remove this, and I'm gonna add two curly braces, and I'm gonna type our variable message. If I go to the browser, as you can see, it's coming from our variable. And also we want these things to be dynamic as well. So I'm gonna add two more variables. The first one is minutes. The first one is minutes. I'm gonna add the variable. I'm gonna call it minutes. And it's gonna be this dot work duration -1, because we don't want to start the timer from 25 minutes and 60 seconds. We want it to start from 24 minutes and 60 seconds. And that's why we're gonna do that. And we're also gonna add seconds. I'm gonna type seconds equals, and we're gonna add 60 because every minute has 60 seconds on it. And also I'm gonna update it. Whenever I increase the focus time, I want this dot minute to be updated as well. So I'm gonna type this dot minutes equals this dot work duration -1, and I'm gonna do the same for all of them. I'm gonna copy and paste them in all of them, again in here as well, and that's it. And if you go here to our browser and click on next, as you can see, it's 25 and 0. If I go back and decrease it 1 to 22, decrease it to 22, as you can see, why isn't it working? I forgot to add it here. Again, so the first one will be minutes, and the second one will be seconds. If I go to the browser, decrease it to 20, let's go to the last page. As you can see, it's starting from 1960 seconds. It's looking good, but we wanna have it to get started whenever we click on start. So I'm gonna add the logic for that. Go to the text editor, and for this button, add a click event. And for that, we're gonna create a function called start. As you can see there, it's underlined with a red line, so it hasn't been created yet, but I'm gonna create it here. Type start, and in here I want to create an interval. Intervals in JavaScript are functions that execute a function each second. For example, I want something to be logged on the console each 5 seconds. This will do that. Every 5 seconds it's gonna log that message in the console. In our case, we want to decrease our seconds variable in here. Each second we want it to get decreased by 1 digit. We're gonna do that, but before that we've got to create an interval. Go up and create a variable called interval. Let me go one line below. Oopsie. Type interval of type any equals 0, and in here I'm gonna declare my interval. I'm gonna type this dot interval equals to create an interval we're gonna use set interval. It's baked in the browser, and every browser supports it almost. And for the function to be executed, before that I want it to be executed every 1000 milliseconds. It means 1 second. And for the function to be executed, I'm gonna type counter. Again, oops. Okay, but as you can see, it hasn't been declared yet, so I'm gonna create it. I'm gonna type const counter equals its function, and I'm gonna type again another mistake that I made. I'm gonna type this dot seconds minus. It means each second it's gonna go down by 1 digit. There's a problem. Why is that? Let's see. What's going on? Okay, oops, I'm gonna move it up, and it's now working. And I'm gonna type another condition. If this dot seconds, I don't want it to decrease forever. I want it to restart whenever it gets to 0. I don't want it to go to minus values, and that's why I'm creating this condition. If the seconds equals -1, I don't want it to go down no more. I want this dot minutes to be decreased by 1 second. And let's see what happens. If I click on next, click on start, it's going down. Each second our function decreases our seconds by 1 digit, and whenever it reaches to 0, it won't go to -1, -2, -3. It will again restart. I'm gonna write the logic for that, but before that this one will decrease as well if it gets to 0. Go to the text editor and type another. There's a problem here. If our break time gets to 0, we want to start the break time, so we're gonna create another. If this minutes equals -1, we don't want it to go down forever. We want it to change the message first. So this dot message, instead of having it say go to work, I want it to say get some rest. Let me copy and paste it from here so I won't have to type it. This dot message